Watchmen characters in the DC Universe come together for the first time. A 12-issue comic book series. DC proudly presents Doomsday Clock. Get issue number 1 at a comic shop near you.
Oh, poor Jeff Johns. If only he knew what was awaiting for him when that countdown happened. And the end is here. We were all waiting for it. 2017 to 2018, the Doomsday Clock 12-issue maxi series. Everyone was hyped up for it. They have waited for since 2016 all the way up to 2017, waiting for this big moment to happen. It was a huge build-up, building the Rebirth storylines, all the stories that would connect together with Dr. Manhattan manipulating the timeline, taking away 10 years of people's lives, killing people off, resurrecting people, saving people who are supposed to be dead, but for some reason aren't dead, and then subsequently getting rid of them because when they realized the DC Universe was no longer doing what Jeff Johns had wanted, they had to go for Dan DiDio's wants, which was fuck everything up. So now we reach the final conclusion. It just took us 24 months than it really should have been. It was supposed to end in November 2018 if the 12-month schedule had gone as planned. But, Dan DiDio doesn't like us having nice things. But now... And then you got Jeff Johns' other responsibilities. The fact that this was a very difficult project for Gary Frank and Brad Anderson. Which is one of the reasons why we haven't gotten Batman 3 Jokers. In fact, now it's being debated whether or not if it's going to be in continuity. Even though it has to be in continuity. Or a version of it has to be told. Because, well... How do I point this delicately? They've been building that up since Justice League Darkseid War. And they never brought it up after Rebirth, but still, it's part of the canon. They can't just flush it down the drain. They could say it took place during the mist of Rebirth. It's like that. It's relatively easy, but the timeline's all messed up to them. But we're not here to talk about Batman 3 Jokers. We don't know when that will happen. Instead, we're here to talk about the final issue. The long-awaited finale to Doomsday Clock. I had predicted that this would get the most delays because of the fact that there was over a dozen plot points they had to resolve, and not even the one, and I didn't even count the ones in Rebirth that was revealed, like Wally West's kids disappearing, the fact that certain characters are dead, the fact that the White Lantern Corps is gone, and reformed under the Green Lantern Corps for a variety of reasons during the Green Lantern books. Why was Jor-El brought back? Why did Dr. Manhattan have so much investment in Jor-El? Why is Thomas Wayne back? And shouldn't he be dead? Why was he so interested in the Flashpoint universe? Why did he keep it stable for a time? Why was Jay Garrick trapped in the Speed Force? And why did no one try to go after him after that? So many questions would have to have been answered, and they would have to extensively make this pretty much, if not more than the DC Rebirth #1 special, just to fill in all the plot points and all the gaps that went wrong. But, I got the variant cover. There were actually 3 covers made. The one that mirrors the Watchmen logo from the first ever comic issue that had came out from the 1980s, of the first ever Watchmen issue. The second one is this one, where Dr. Manhattan's standing in the center as the clock hits midnight, and he seems to be locked in these 2 routes that's going to happen. Superman killing Dr. Manhattan, or Dr. Manhattan destroying everything. And there was a third one. To capitalize on the success of the Immortal Hulk green cover they made a yellow blank cover with the Doomsday Clock sidebar on the other side, because... shut up. And they just wanted to capitalize on Immortal Hulk's huge eBay sales. And, yep, we even get this moment. What was perceived to be blood appearing on this turned into actually the Cape of Superman, revealed in the last issue, which seems forever ago. But when we last left off, we had finally reached the culmination and of what this has been building up. The hope of the DC Universe's future. Superman versus Dr. Manhattan. But it wasn't really. But even I predicted this. Even what Dr. Manhattan sees is not 100% accurate in what he saw, because I'll get to that in a moment when I can. But this was the culmination point that fans were hell bent on wanting to see. The man of virtue, the man of the truth, justice, and kind of the American way that changes nowadays, versus the herald of nihilism, of predestined ideology. Everything is preordained. People that he's the only one that he doesn't want to change the strings of puppetry. And also the guy who basically would be Dan DiDio's favorite thing he ever had, because, well, let's be honest, Dan DiDio probably does like Dr. Manhattan because of the nihilistic attitude of his universe. Also, there was an interesting idea I thought of a while back after issue 11. I don't know if I ever covered this, but it could have been after the video, after I made the recording. But I was always thinking, like, okay, so how about this? Since the Watchmen universe is always dark and gritty and horrible, a horrible place, why can't that be the Earth -0, if that's such a thing in the dark multiverse? Why can't that be the epicenter of the dark multiverse? It would kind of make sense in some ways. He's like, this is the sequel to the comic that kickstarted the dark age of comics, like Youngblood and all that, because comics were a lot like Hollywood a lot back then, even that, and sometimes even now, Dan DiDio, anyone, where they were like, man, these books, they are so popular. They're selling really well. They're considered classics, like The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. What is it that makes them so great? Okay, we've read the entire issue. We believe our focus test research indicates it's the dark storytelling. It's the darkness. And everyone nowadays looks at that and was like, you didn't read the books, did you? You went ahead and just said it's because it's dark, that's why it sells. Instead of it being like, these are complex, very interesting stories with so much connection to each other. Why can't we do that? Because if they had changed up their proceeding of how they viewed the comic industry and viewed Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns, I get the feeling the industry would have been very different if they deduced that it wasn't the just dark tone, it was the complex story, the ethics, the questionings and everything, not just grim and gritty. And this is why a lot of people, I think, were very interested in the series, because really think about it. Superman was everything Dr. Manhattan was. In fact, Superman was the symbol of the golden age, when everyone was happy, where the comics were lighthearted, and while there was an edge of darkness at times, hope always raised through the darkness. Brandon Roth, please take it away, everyone. So, back to this. This is why so many people wanted to see this eventual confrontation. Like it almost didn't happen for many people, but a lot of people would have dreamed to see this confrontation, because it shouldn't really be a battle. It's more like a ethological, ideological debate about human nature and what we perceive things. And the fact that you get the guy who started the golden age of comics, that represented hope, truth, justice, and doing the right thing, and basically take your vitamins and say your prayers, more than that other asshole who's secretly a closet racist and says that everyone who's complaining about a hurricane disaster are a bunch of crybabies because they don't have electricity or running water. God, I hate that man sometimes. Like, I know what he did for wrestling, but that tweet he had made and then deleted after he got flack for his obvious wrong statement, that should have been what killed Hulkamania for good. But no, sadly, it breathes sadly. Anyways, back to the comic. So, And then you got the guy who is pretty much what many people thought was the face of the Dark Age of comics, what started the grim and gritty and carried on into the 21st century, like with Infinite Crisis dark storytelling, Final Crisis dark storytelling, Marvel darkening its universe more than it actually was, like the Civil War story, all the blood and guts, the violence, the undertones, the innuendos especially. Even though there was not that much innuendo in Watchmen or in The Dark Knight Returns. In fact, that always led me to be annoyed when Linkara talked about how The Dark Knight Returns was the one of the comics that kickstarted the Dark Age. I was like, are the industry executives back then just that stupid? What the hell was Carrie Kelly then? Like, they do know she dressed up in very bright colors to cheer up Batman and was the moral compass, so to speak, of Batman's psyche. To bring joy and give him a reminder of what he's fighting for and not embrace the darkness. Which is why some people hate the Titans show, which I can completely understand. So, yeah. So in my attempts to deconstruct my opinion on the whole Dark Age of comics that I didn't have well-versed history with, besides the Linkara videos. Thanks, Linkara. Helping me getting back into comics and all that, so I can't thank him enough for that. Then there was the Watchmen TV show, like back in 2017 when the series started. Hold on. Let me just, fuck it. Let me just get them. Let me just get them as I continue speaking about everything. I really can't help myself. This series is just so good in my opinion. Like when... Where is it? Okay. Here are all 12 freaking issues of this series. I have had to invest, reinvest, and restart my experience in binge storing all these and binge read all these stuff. I had to binge read all this, and some of these are final printings, but yeah, I had to restart my order of this, and then you get the pages being covered in red, but I had to restart my reading of this and had to catch up on how everything worked, and it's a fun experience, and it was very fun. So, yeah, and I even got the part 1 cover, and I hope they make a full-fledged deluxe edition. I'm hoping for an absolute edition in the future, because damn, because this series needs an absolute edition. And probably with some of the interconnected stories, because even though they said there was no tie-ins per se, it had prelude tie-ins for the most part. So, enough of my 13-minute ramblings of this stuff. I just really love this series. And it's probably Jeff Johnson's best work, and that's saying a lot. Like, there's Infinite Crisis and all that stuff. But let's get right into it. We get the cover of the Superman logo, and on the page, depending on the cover you get, and we get Dr. Manhattan's narration as he speaks. I was wrong. Everything ends. Nothing lasts forever. Not hope, not me. It is August 1959. I have fallen in love and grown distracted. No! 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 I leave Janet's watch in my lab coat inside the test chamber. Anxious to show her I've repaired it, I go to retrieve it. My pulse quickens when the door shuts. I'm sorry, Honorsman. The program's locked in, and we can't override the time lock. It's a safety feature. Yes, the safety feature that locks you in and you can't turn it off. I just realized how crappy we are with our science. And we invented a god. In fact, that always bugged me a little bit. I think I mentioned this in the Watchmen movie review in my thoughts video about that, but I always wondered this. If the intrinsic field that created Dr. Manhattan, why the hell didn't they replicate this? Like, this is the American government, and in this universe, it's much more crazy and power-hungry. So, why didn't they try to duplicate this? Make more people like Dr. Manhattan, but hopefully more controllable. Wouldn't that, like, fit the agenda of the Watchmen universe? Like, yeah, that always made me wonder, wait, why doesn't the rest of the world do that? Like, why don't they, like, why doesn't communist Russia back then break into the U.S. and steal the blueprints to create an intrinsic field to create their own Dr. Manhattan? Like, that like bothered me. That always bugged me. That, like, did they ever explain that in the Watchmen comic? I don't ever recall ever hearing why they never explained it. Like, for like about a month or so, for like 3 months, I believe they mentioned, or half a year, they just kept saying like it was like a ghost at the time. They didn't think anything was going to happen. They just thought this was a gruesome accident. Yeah. Yeah, so that always bugged me for no end. Like, this would have kickstarted a huge god race for the US, the USSR, the European Union, North Korea, Japan. Like, they would have all tried in the Watchmen universe to make their own Dr. Manhattan. And then the US would try and catch up and make another and another. And then you have multiple godlike powerful beings running around and growing detached because they're just tools and they don't like that. So then he goes ahead and remembers 1 month earlier, before all the hell broke loose. Still colleagues, Janny and I traveled to Jersey, me visiting old friends and Janny's mother. Hey, young lovers, hold it! She calls home from the train station, but nobody answers. We visit the amusement park, killing time until her mother returns. But we're not, and they took the picture. 12 minutes later, Janny's watch band snaps. Before I can pick it up, a fat man steps upon it. I tell her I can fix it. That's just beautiful, a beautiful picture, particularly of the lady. It is 1945. The atomic bomb is dropped. My father tells me time no longer matters, abandoning his work as a watchmaker. It's July 1959. Janny's breath is in my ear. Her broken watch sits on the hotel nightstand. It's August. The light is taking me to pieces. It is now. In 11 minutes and 57 seconds, it will all end. In an effort to understand the nature of Superman and the metaverse, I reached into history. And now this world has turned against me, like an invading virus sending me toward an unavoidable collision with its greatest antibody. And really, this is basically the equivalent of, hello, Superman. And then we get the title of the issue, Discouraged of Man. Superman asks the obvious question, who are you? I'm the one you're going to destroy, or I'm the one who's going to destroy everything. What are you? Superman! And in comes the Russian Empire, the Russians' metahuman force, and surprisingly this guy. You must answer for your crimes against the Russian people, and face the parents and children of those who lost their lives in the Moscow massacre. Markovia stands with them, Superman. Do the right thing. Come with us. Yeah, this is Geoforce of the DC Comics verse. As you can see, he's acting like a villain. Or at least having political treaties, since he's the king of Markovia. So, we all know how Markovia ended up in Young Justice. So, yeah, and this is not him being possessed. And then, of course, Poser, I believe. I don't think I can pronounce his name. He responds again. You have done much good in the world, Superman, but that cannot excuse the role you played in the attack that left scores of my people dead. Poser. Superman will be held accountable, but Kandark will be the nation that does it. Fight not for a government that wants to control you because it fears you. Join me and my nation and be free. I would never betray my homeland. Are you sure? Now this is just inaccurate. A lot of times in fiction, the Russians always yell out, "For the motherland! For Mother Russia!" As this is all going on, Dr. Mahan is just remembering the past. It is November 2nd, 1985. I watched Lori hold Daniel close. Her mascara mixed with tears, his naked skin providing her comfort. It is October 1985. I dropped the photograph on Mars, leaving it all behind. It is April 18th, 1938. Superman holds a car over his head. There are innocent people in this area, and because this is the world of humanity, they don't fucking care. Says thus, the people of the metahumans of Kandark and the metahumans of Markovia and Russia basically charged towards Superman with Black Hand proclaiming, says, when has that ever stopped your country? Yeah, as much as Jeff Johns likes to Jeff Johns did admit what was going on in the world did help influence his writing, and Watchmen was very politically charged at certain points, but yeah, people probably don't want to keep hearing that. In fact, at the end of this issue, they mentioned something, and I must stress, the comic came out this Wednesday at the time of this video, so yeah, talk about very convenient timing. So while this battle of metahumans about to collide with Superman, Dr. Manhattan continues narrating. It is April 18th, 1938. There is no car. Meanwhile, the news report is just going in and talking about this. With the Justice League still on Mars, fighting the being who they claim is truly responsible for the explosion in Moscow, the Prime Minister has created the Knights to protect America's interests. What those interests exactly are remain unclear. It is now. I am caught in a question with two answers. Australia has announced their intentions to provide additional metahuman resources to the U.S. Despite protests throughout Sydney, after tweets by the Dark Ranger revealed his support of the Australian Protectionist Party. He remains a member of the Sleeping Soldiers. I cannot see through the barrier of darkness. Prime Minister of not whatever has committed Israel to forcing Black Adam back to Kandark. Israel's metahuman program, Hoito. I'm pretty sure I butchered that name, so don't kill me in the comments. Gained notoriety last week after a video appeared to show its leader, Sephiroth, executing an unarmed terrorist, something which he denies. I only see Superman. Meanwhile, Superman is coughing up blood. In 10 minutes, the colors of the world melt away, and there's nothing but darkness. Urging all residents within the downtown DC area to evacuate, declaring war against Russia. Marches turning violent. Elise base they signing with Kandak. Great 20 with Russia. Japan saying big monster action. What? Japan sending big monster action. What the fuck does that mean? This is the end. As Reggie Long watches this, he is immediately knocked out with a lead pipe. He's immediately struck in the skull hole with a lead pipe. Ha 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 ha! No, I catch one of you trying to break into my store. Yes, look at that poor thug of a horrible person, just casually standing there looking like he's lost all hope and not doing anything. It is safe to say you could claim he's racist. I mean, like, I'm not gonna go there. Fuck it. I'm not gonna go there. because of the stereotypes of political aspects and what the book has alluded to a lot. So Reggie's bleeding a lot, bleeding from the back of his head, and the guy's saying, "Come on, boy! Come on now, boy! Stand up and fight back!" "I see nothing to fight for." And of course, someone gets in the way. "Excuse me, sir. Huh? You got blood on your hat." "I got what?" And of course, Alfred knocks him out. Out. Also, before I knock you out, I must ask, I have this very stiff neck, and I'm trying to wonder how to fix that. And Reggie doesn't like it. "Told you, leave me alone." Where would I be? Where would we all be if I did that? I require your assistance. Superman does. You're the only one who can help us find Ozymandias before it's too late. You don't know. You don't know whose face that is. Yes, I do. I've read his journal. His name was... Don't say his name! Why did you say that name? And Reggie shoves Alfred into the security wall, saying, "Monster's name, monster's face, filled with emptiness. Eyes were closed. Now they're open. I see the truth. Fighting will not help. Your world's going to end like mine. It will unless we do something to save it. Iran calling Superman a war criminal and vowing to make an example of the American hero. Look at Mask. Do you see what I see? I see pieces of rock floating in space. I see no future. I see no hope. It is lost, and I cannot find it." And then we get this epic 2-page spread of pure carnage spreading all over near DC's capital. As all this is going on, Superman's getting his ass handed to him, so yeah, that's standard proceedings. "My father used to wake me up every morning with a smile on his face. He'd tell me no matter what came my way to make most of it. He believed there was good to be found everywhere, in everyone. We just had to look for it. We had to see it and help others see it too. Never gave in to dark thoughts, but some people can't see the good." Well, in most cultures nowadays, anyone who doesn't act of kindness is immediately snuffed out for it or arrested. Wait. They only want everyone else to suffer with them, and they're going to win. The world is drowning in hate and anger, sides separated by an ever-widening canyon of digital bile. Soon both factions will tumble off edge, falling into a bottomless pit of liberal self-righteousness and outdated identity politics. Hands clutching their weaponized phones, finding no olive branch to save them, because neither side knows what that means anymore. Lost sight of Superman. Now, as reports confirm, he is fighting alone. Why not just let this ugly world destroy itself? Oh, Reggie Long is actually thinking some dark thoughts I sometimes have whenever I have to read the fucking news. As it's going on, Superman's fighting, including fighting the Sandman, who is confirmed to be a kid. Oh, and there's riots going on somewhere that's never explained. And Reggie just finishes his big speech of despair, which I'm pretty sure Dan DiDio is secretly having a "oh, so awesome" moment. As he says, "before we're dragged down into the darkness with it." Then up in the sky, look, it is the Batman! Batman then apologizes, saying, "I know you tried to warn me. I'm sorry." Reggie just says it doesn't matter. There's nothing we can do. As this is going on, Dr. Manhattan is just standing there, possibly narrating to himself about the past events that he perceives as the president, and seeing all the chaos thrown around, and then sees a car being thrown at a young a mother and child, And Superman saves the day, and Superman say, whoever you are, help these people! I don't help you. I've already seen it. Superman is completely confused and admits he can't do this alone. Then Dr. Manhattan says, less than 4 minutes now. It is November 2nd, 1985. I remember this feeling. Millions will die, a complicated prospect of peace he's brought to an unhinged world. Killing Walter Kovacs, I became part of the lie, not yet realizing the illusion would end one day. So Lex Luthor and Lois Lane are discussing about everything they've learned, and Luthor says, you know the way out. What do you expect me to do? Write your article, inform the world, tell them our very history has been altered by a force beyond our universe. To accomplish what? Panicking people? No, it's because I need to figure out what the hell this retcon timeline is. Am I still the hybrid apex predator at this time? I'm still confused! To tell people I was the one who uncovered it. I want the credit for my work. Lex Luthor, even at the end of days, is saying what he always believes in. Pissing everyone off. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with someone. He grabs something called a vibrational emitter, and we cut to the comedian. Pull over! Then we cut to Mighty Marionette driving and rampaging through the streets of Gotham. Pull over! You wish! Yeah, the Joker never shows up again, so we don't know what the hell happened to him. Meanwhile, the police are like, damn, the pullover tactic didn't work. Should we try lethal force? Since these kind of act like the Joker's goons. Meanwhile, Reggie is trying to basically explain, why the hell are you even trying? So you believe what Dr. Manhattan does? That everything is already preordained? I read Kovac's journal. I know who John Osman is. Know who Rorschach is then. Know why I can't wear that mask. Byron leaves Lewis Mothman, my supposed friend in the hospital. Lied to me. Told me my father was getting through to Rorschach, but truth, Rorschach was getting through to him. Destroyed my father, my mother, died alone. See it. I always see it. Batman understands this thing more than anyone. You see a monster when you look at that mask, but you can take it, change it, make people see something else. I should know. Everyone looked at me as I was a paranoid lunatic dressed up as a bat. I'm still a paranoid lunatic who dresses up as a bat, but they at least can know that I will protect Gotham City, even though at this point the government of the United States should just level the city flat and just roll over a new city. And also, wait, I just never realized, why don't the courts just do the death penalty after repeat offended cases? Yeah, that always bugged me, but I'll get to that if I talk about the city of Bane. That's what it sounds like your friend Byron was trying to do. Superman, and he just wanted to protect how you remembered your father. Superman is then asking Dr. Manhattan, how can you stand there and not do anything? Because you're a man of action, and he's a being of inaction. My world once had a chance at peace, but after I left it lost it. It fell into war. It's burning even now. 12 seconds. I see nothing but darkness. I am the one behind the changes in your life, the loss of your mentors you've never known, friends you've forgotten. More specifically, I'm responsible for the death of your parents. I changed your life, Superman, out of cold curiosity. Will you destroy me for it? Or will I defend myself despite my sins? Superman, with his eyes red and raged, he charges to Dr. Manhattan, closing his eyes, ready to embrace the fight. And Superman thrusts his fist forward, knocking Pyro out. His flame is snuffed out. The darkness is still coming, but I'm confused. Why would you defend me? Well, this is the part where I get to say this. Why does Dr. Manhattan think Superman is just gonna go on a revenge trip. Well, this is the problem that I think Dan DiDio has with him. And I'm pretty sure this is legitimately Dan DiDio's philosophy every time when he looks at Superman. Dr. Manhattan is from a world of dark nihilism. He has always been told that the past no longer matters now. It's the future we should move forward to. And even then, the future's damned with the atomic age. And the fact that he's been in a world where people have tried to either kill him, use him, control him, lie to him, manipulate him. Whether he admits it or not, while he has said repeatedly he does not he's distant from humanity, that this one scene in particular where he thinks there are two options where it's either kill or be killed, he doesn't think there's another way, that it's all going to end this way, there's no way it can go this way, I can either defend myself or I kill Superman and the whole universe. And there's actually a reason for that. There's still a part of Dr. Manhattan that's human. Remember, the reason why the U.S. government still had a leash on him was because of his relationship with the Silk Spectre Lori. But this is the part where everyone should have been wondering this question. Why wouldn't Dr. Manhattan not think more negatively about people than positively? Like he still has a human emotion in him. And all he ever and how it explains said this like how in issue 7 he explains that he sees Dr. Manhattan as like agitated or angry, whereas in the original he was always distant, because I think his mind cannot comprehend the idea of altruism and goodness in people, because he's from a world where that went horribly wrong. So after Dr. Manhattan asks him why he would defend him, after everything he's done, Superman just says, I don't know what to think about all this, but I do know right now you have a choice to make. You talk about me destroying you, or you destroying me, because all you see beyond this is nothing. But maybe there is a third choice. Superman stands up, talks to Dr. Manhattan, and says, who is she? Dr. Manhattan looks confused. She? He looks down and sees the picture all those years ago. You're creating those photographs with every step you take. I assume they're important to you. Dr. Manhattan picks up one of them and remembers the past, when everything changed when he was born. She was. Maybe the darkness you see, maybe it takes everything you have to save your world. Maybe you make that choice. Reggie Long puts on the Rorschach mask as Batman and Alfred watch. Meanwhile, as the chaos continues to loom, and Black Adam and the team of Kahndaq and Markovia and Russia come after him, Dr. Manhattan has come to realize something. Yes, I understand now. Everything ends. And thus, a gigantic white-blue light, it brightens throughout the world. To Luthor, Lane, the comedian, Mind and Marionette, Rorschach, Batman, Alfred, Johnny Thunder, Ozymandias, Superman, and everything encapsulates into the light is snuffed out. All that remains is darkness. For 3 pages. So yeah, this was easily the best artwork Gary Frank ever did. He didn't have to do a thing. So that makes the pages easier for him to draw. But then, as the darkness comes out, we see a light. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. It looks more like a destroyed planet. Dr. Manhattan begins to speak as a rocket is being thrown from space from an exploding planet. It begins with a child. The metaverse forms around this one and only sun. The rocket lands, and as time progresses, we see that it's landing during the early age of Earth, to the prehistoric age, to the time after the dinosaurs, to the monkeys, to the first apes, to the eventually first humans. Then we see the Ice Age for some reason. Then we see Clark Kent's parents. And that actually makes me think that we're seeing his past descendants. Seeing Martha, and I'm trying to remember his name. I can remember Martha because of the damn Batman v Superman movie, because of how mean it was, and his adopted father. They're finding the Superman, Clark Kal-El, and then he says this: "It's too dangerous for you to show yourself to the world. They've never seen anything like you, Clark. If they did, a lot of them would be afraid." It's July 16th, 1940. I moved the lantern 6 inches of engineer Alan Scott's reach. He dies as the train carrying off the bridge. It's July 16th, 1940. I moved the lantern back. They've seen people with extraordinary powers before, Clark, says his father. When I was a boy, my father told me stories of the Justice Society of America, wartime heroes, who made us feel safer and inspired us to do our part, but that was decades ago. So if you're telling me you're ready to get out there and show everyone what you can do, well, the world is ready too, Clark. Thanks, Pa. Now you go ask Lana about that dance. I will. I worry about Clark. He's so alone. He has you and me. We won't be around forever. Jonathan? Jonathan! That's who he is. Jonathan! And sure enough, what was at the beginning where it shows them dying in the car accident, then they're saved by Superboy. Inspired by the heroes of the past, Clark Kent steps into the light. Is that our son? Because the Justice Society exists again, so does Superboy. You saved us, Clark. You look so handsome. Thanks, Ma. And because Superboy exists again, Earth embraced him, an alien immigrant like us. He led the way. So does the Legion. As the metaverse reforms, time catches up. Ozymandias is looking through the monitors as he revels in what he's learned. It is now. And then Ozymandias is Brabastus' cat. Hisses as he says its name and says, "Yes, I felt it too." Then we get two massive glows going on. 1,000 years from now, a young girl saves the life of intergalactic philanthropist R.J. Brandy. The Legion of Superheroes ring begins to glow. On July 7th, 1917, Johnny Thunder is born and kidnapped by this whatever. Johnny, you've been searching for your genie this whole time when you forgot. Forgot? You became the Thunderbolts, remember? I did, didn't I? See you! Her ring, the old man, in a bright flash of light, they have disappeared. What are you doing, John? The future and the past are free. And as Superman is getting beat down, and we hear a voice in the distance. Greif, there he is! A little telepathic push will clear them away. Superman looks up to see a young woman talking to him. Who, you remember us now, don't you, Cal? Irma. And then we get something in the background. Sorry we're late, son. Black Adam, Geoforce, and Giganta charge once more, and Superman boldly proclaims, well, better late than never. And we get this epic 2-page spread of the Justice Society of America and the Legion of Superheroes working together, charging towards the villains.
Avengers! Assemble.
Give them a taste of their own medicine, Johnny. You got it, pal. So yeah, basically we're getting the Endgame event of DC. Serves you right, you big boy. Soul Taker, I know Saturn Girl. No killing, especially in front of Superman. I see tomorrow, the man of tomorrow, and for the first time, I am inspired. It is April 18th, 1938. Meadow winds as Superman lifts a 1937 Ford over his head, revealing himself to Metropolis. Decades later, a police scientist is struck by lightning, and the birth of the Speed Force rattles the metaverse. Superman's timeline shifts forward, and reality divides for the first time, creating the multiverse. Earth 2 is born. After the first greatest crisis, the Earth divides again. Earth 1 becomes Earth 1985, a world unexplored even today. I now understand why these Earths exist. Every time there is a change in the metaverse, the multiverse grows. To preserve every era of Superman, more created over the years, including one of my interference. After the Flashpoint and this rebirth, Earth 52 is out there. I look beyond. And as this is showing, this basically gives the tease of what's going to happen in the future soon, in the next coming decade, and into the next, after 2020's decade's over. In the year 2020, Superman's timeline is bombarded by the reckless energies of the old gods once again warping the metaverse. It's July 2nd, 2025. A crisis unlike any the metaverse has seen, one they will call Time Masters, erupts. But in its wake, Superman is revitalized, and his greatest allies return. No matter how many times Superman's existence is attacked, he will survive, even if change is a constant, because hope is the North Star of the metaverse. It is January 2026, the timeline is restored, and Earth 5G is born. Now, that's a pretty important part, because they've been teasing, because there's been a lot of reports going around from Bleeding Cool especially, about this 5G, the 5th generation era that's supposed to come about. So it looks like that eventually the time is going to shift again, and Earth 5G is going to split off. And now we know what the 52 Earth is actually. It's actually the new 52, which was unexpectedly destroyed in the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths special event in the 100-page comic giant of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's June 17, 2026. Superman goes on a quest to find Bruce Wayne's lost daughter so she can save Bruce's son. So Catwoman and Batman finally got together and finally made a kid. Unless this is him and Talia al Ghul again. And then we get this tease. The biggest tease that Jeff Johns seems to be promising DC Comics in the year 2030. On July 10th, 2030, please remember that day just in case, the Secret Crisis begins, throwing Superman into a brawl across the universe with Thor, or himself, and a green behemoth stronger than even Doomsday, who dies protecting Superman from these invaders. In its wake, Superman's timeline shifts forward again. So what Jeff Johns is basically saying, through Dr. Manhattan, that on July 10th, 2030, we are going to get Marvel and DC working together again in the Secret Crisis. I do not think that's going to happen, but I will hope. It is April 18th, 2038. Superman appears in public for the first time. 22 years earlier, the Kent's prayers for a child are answered when a rocket lands on their farm. Superman's timeline shifts forward again, April 18, 2038. Now marks a different date. Jonathan, Martha, and their baby, Colin, find the boy who will one day be Superman. The rocket arrives again in the year 2045, delivering the Kents their only child. They find the rocket with their 3-year-old daughter, Clara, in the year 2162. At 2965, Superman appears in Metropolis for the first time. Dr. Manhattan slowly but surely starts to smile as he says, the rocket arrives, the child is loved, Superman is made. I now understand Superman's true purpose. He will show them the way. And in a millennium, when his timeline converges with the Legion's humankind, he will finally embrace the ways of Superman. He is the bridge stretching across generations that will lead everyone to peace. Between what I learned from Lex pontificating, which took all the patience in the world, and this, thank you, Bruce. Arrival of Wonder Woman, who fought alongside the Justice Society of America during World War II. Retcon! Wonder Woman is now established as the, quote, yeah, this is part of the whole timeline alteration. You see, according to what was revealed, Wonder Woman will be labeled as the first official active hero of the DC Universe. Countless lives saved by the Legion of Superheroes. Ozymandias then turns his eyes to the corner and says, I did it again. Did what exactly? Everything we need to clear Superman's name was on your ship. Yep. You even had rock and roll. You son of a bitch, I'm gonna break your neck. Wait, no, that's murder. We are not the Dark Knight Returns. I will break your back. Ozymandias then just responds with, yes, I know. I left it for you and to find and give to his wife, no doubt. It's all going according to plan. Then a bright light flashes Ozymandias, Rorschach, Mighty Marionette, the comedian, as Ozymandias proclaims, don't worry, Baspis. It's only John. Let him summon us. I know that damn blue light, and we were having so much fun. And the car crashes into a bunch of garbage. At just a little ways from the Washington Monument, they just go at Dr. Manhattan converses with Ozymandias saying, I know what you've done, Adrian. I expect nothing less by this point in the game, John. Once I learned about your vision of Superman and Superman himself, it was rather a simple initiative. If I couldn't convince you to use your powers to save our world, I was certain he would. All I had to do was arrange the confrontation. Yes, that's how I know he was actually married to Lois Lane. Wait. Oh yeah, that does actually make sense because, well, in the Watchmen universe, the DC universe are comics. So Ozymandias then says, so let's go home. Everyone lives today. Then Ozymandias is shot in the chest by the comedian. Except maybe you, Vite. Goddamn asshole. And then he is shot by Lex Luthor with the vibrational emitter. Now for you two clowns. I don't use that language that often myself, but it's appropriate. You goddamn asshole. What did you do? As the comedian continues glowing, his clothes start to change, shifting into the bathrobe. I'm negating the vibrational frequency that brought you here. I'm sending you back to wherever you came from. No! Manhattan, you son of a bitch! This can't be how it ends! It is October 11th, 1985. Glass shatters, and a comedian is murdered. Rorschach goes to Vite, saying, Vite, we all get what we want, Reggie. I get to die a hero, John gets purpose, you get revenge. Don't want revenge. Want justice. And then he goes to stop the bleeding. Ah! Want to stop the bleeding. You live, pay for your crimes, rot in prison. You're not Rorschach. No, Rorschach is me. He punched Ozymandias. I want to kick Ozymandias in balls. Erica Manson, you and Marcos Mez are not coming with us. What? We were promised we'd get our son back. We want our son, damn it. You have a daughter on the way. As for your son, my plan is that you'll see each other again. He will need an anchor here, as I did. An anchor? I see the light now. I see my final purpose. It is April 18th, 1954. My anchor sits in the diner, nerves trembling. It is 1 second after my annual conversation with Carver Coleman. Dr. Manhattan disappears and goes back to where he first landed. Goes back to when his last conversation with Carver Coleman, and Carver Coleman is still trembling with nerves when he was told, I'm not gonna be here for a year from now? What does that even mean? You're kind of stupid. Like, that should be honestly saying, you will die. But then as he says this, Dr. Manhattan and I say, I'm sorry, I didn't explain myself better. John, you're back? It is I who will not be around. I don't understand. I haven't been a very good friend, Carver, but I can see so many futures now. Make a good choice. Don't be afraid of what you feel. It is not who wins or loses, it's how you play the game. That concludes our annual Nathaniel Dusk Marathon in honor of the late star Carver Coleman. Facing blackmail, Carver Coleman came out to the public in 1954 before the release of the final Nathaniel Dusk film, The Adjournment. Shunned by the studios, he became recluse for years. Yes, losing his home and almost ended up back on the streets. Yeah, it turns out that Carver Coleman was actually was in the closet, which does tie back into Carver Coleman's backstory when he caught sight of the two guys kissing outside the studio, which was a big no-no back then. So, yeah, that seems like it was alluding to that would be Carver Coleman eventually. But anyways, Carver Coleman returned to acting in the mid-60s, going on to win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for Fred Koh's 1,000 Clowns. And in 1973, he was instrumental in getting homosexuality removed from the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders. Coleman died in 2005. His partner of over 40 years at his side, his personal slogan has been adopted by activists across the world. Don't be afraid of what you feel. This is Alyssa Malone for TCM. Thanks for watching. And then we get a series of reports talking about the Superman theory. Arrest of Martin Stein for his role in the creation of a dozen metahumans against their will. Firestorm, Killer Frost, and the Henya among those that. Up next, in the 1950s classic Silver Blade, starring Jonathan Lord and basically Amanda Lahr. And then this is where we get the reference that was very coincidence, honestly. Amanda Lahr leading talks of impeachment, claiming the president supported her director Stein's program and had first-hand knowledge of. And I must stress, this came out the same day that Donald Trump was impeached. This was written already, so this did not predict any goddamn thing. This is just huge coincidence. Arrival of the Justice League and their allies from the Mars announcing the latest interdimensional threat that frames Superman has been neutralized. Alan Scott then talks. Justice Society of America will be investigating the Department of Metahuman Affairs actions involving the so-called Superman theory. As someone who survived Joe McCarthy's Inquisition, I ask all of you for patience as we work to uncover the truth. Why are you so quiet, Clark? Just listening to this news. Learn anything interesting? Batman goes ahead and looks at Rorschach's journal, and continues. And as narration continues, we see a little bit of an epilogue going on. We see Mighty Marionette taking Night Owl ship now. Yeah, that was never taken. Clark, cat got your tongue? No, Lois, there's such a long road ahead. Well, no one said you could blink and make everything perfect. Vought had the right idea, but it can be improved upon. So Lex Luthor has something up his sleeve. The world's more connected than ever, but it's never been so divided. Yeah, that's basically the whole world right now. People are choosing sides instead of extending their hands. But it's not too late. You did it. You reached out to him. You changed him. And he'll change someone now too. Don't you think? Because if you have faith in that, there's hope for all of us. There's the boy I know. Clark. Lois. Ma, Pa, I told you we were going to pick you up at the station. We caught an earlier flight. Hey, and you know your father. He doesn't like to be a bother. Stays clearer than I remember. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. So John and Martha Kent are alive and well in this continuity. Sadly, I was disappointed that we didn't see Superman Lois Lane's son, Superboy, Jonathan Samuel can't show up because he's in the Legion of Superhero universe timeline right now. Like, come on! Like, it would have been awesome to see their son in this picture. I affected his world. Now he will affect mine. It is November 22nd, 1992. Vight's plan has blown up in the world's face. Dr. Manhattan returns to see a world undone by nuclear war. The ash is still warm under my feet. The tachyons from the owl ship departing are still dissipating. It is 1945. The cogs fly into the air. It is 1959. I fix Janny's watch. It is 1992. I see a light. As he's walking, we see plants slowly but surely growing. It is December 25th, 1992. Reggie Long stands over the cold ground in front of Ryan Lewis's gravestone and finds warmth. His breath leaks through the fabric as he mutters under his mask, "Thank you." It is March 13th, 1993. Vight's headquarters has become his prison. Every day after school, a young orphan named Cleopatra Park stands outside obsessed with the rise and fall of Ozymandias. On her 16th birthday, with a fully grown Barbastus at her side, Miss Park will call herself Nostalgia. Life doesn't stop, but it needs love. We cut back to Mine and Marionette talking about their upcoming child, as Dr. Manhattan continues narrating. As callous and cruel as Erica Manson and Marcos Mez can be, their love between them is real. What about Anita? After your mother, 8 months from now, Anita Mez will be born. So basically, Dr. Manhattan gave them a huge fresh start because if they went back to the Watchmen universe, they'll be on the run and they have a kid now. It is 1984. Marion and mine are robbing a bank a mile from Rockefeller. Alerted, I go to confront them. I hesitate to kill them because I see their son's future. He will bring great happiness to a woman I care about. Yet the details of how and why are unclear to me. We cut back to the flashback when she's screaming for the boy, saying she wants her baby back. I blame my blurred vision on my recent experiments involving the dialectical unity principle and give it a little more thought. I now realize the blind spot to the details of this child's future. Where'd you put him? I didn't touch him. Is me. It is June 8th, 1984. I hold the child in my arms. He looks up at me, the sun caressing his face. It is 1945. My profession is a thing of the past. Instead, my son must have a future. It is 1946. 47, 48. My father is more worried about my future than my present. I inherit that. I can never be the hero this world needs because I didn't have what Superman did. That star there is Mifad, part of the Pyrrhus constellation, named after the Greek hero who rescued his mother. Look, John, a falling star. Shall we make a wish? John looks down at the kid on Mars. Yeah, he's on Mars. I don't know why he loves Mars so much. And smiles. I believe in wishes again. Destiny is not without a guiding hand. My mind wanders back to August 1959, to what could have been. I left my lab coat when we were resetting the intrinsic field chamber. This morning, you wait right there. John, we were having such a nice lunch. Don't worry so much about it. We finish lunch. I give Janie her watch after work. She puts it in her pocket, her lips upon mine. 6 months later, we are married. 3 years afterwards, our daughter is born, followed by another the next year, and then our son 4 years later. It is a nice daydream to live in. A final thought as I give the last of my powers to this world and this child, so that the planet has a protector who will receive love and return it. I encourage all of you to stop what you are doing and smell the roses. Stop and smell the roses, Dave. Dave, I'm planting a whole garden in honor of Dr. Manhattan. There still isn't any proof that Dr. Manhattan was responsible for this. Oh, come on! Who else would have made every nuclear weapon on Earth disappear? Oh, so Dr. Manhattan really was inspired by Superman of the quest for peace.
Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
Okay, I find that a little funny. Whatever happened, and the march for peace continues around the clock. In nearly every country, major city, demands no new nukes were made. The bulletin of atomic scientists have reset the Doomsday clock, so let's keep it that way, huh? You know, they really ought to come up with a better name. No, it's been that way since the beginning, so why stop now? Do you think it was him? How could it not be? Can I pour it? Of course, sweetie. Who could that be? Probably just the paper. We cut to seeing Night Owl and Silk Spectre being a loving family with their daughter. Now that was revealed. I thought like they took Mighty Marionette's child in, but they fooled us. Then we see the little girl running to the door, opening it and saying, "Oh, hi, can I help you? I'm sorry to bother you, but a friend of your mom and dad's brought me here. He said they'll know what to do. My mom and dad are making pancakes for lunch. Do you want some? My name's Sally. What's yours?" And then revealed in the final page of Doomsday Clock, we see the young boy with the document with the atomic symbol for hydrogen on his forehead, simply saying, "John calls me Clark." We get the final quote, "Every child comes with a message that God is not yet discouraged of man." Carver Coleman's Hollywood Walk of Fame is with flowers and the Dr. Manhattan's iconic photo. The end. So that was Doomsday Clock, the final chapter, the Discouraged of Man. Everyone wants to call this a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece of storytelling. Like, I know people are always going to say that it's never going to be the Watchmen sequel that Alan Moore could have made, but it really doesn't need to be. Like, with the praise of the Watchmen TV show, which I forgot to mention, that was just a rumor back when this first came out. But when it came up to this, the season had just ended. The first season just ended. I'll be trying to catch up on all the episodes just so I can give my thoughts on that one because I have heard high praises. But to get to this point, this was the biggest love letter I think Jeff Johns ever has done for the DC universe and for Superman in general since the DC Rebirth Initiative. Like, to see that to Jeff Johns, Superman is that important. That's what he believes superhero comics should be. Yeah, there's always going to be a dark side to it, but like Brandon Roth from Crisis on Infinite Earth Superman once said of Kingdom Come,
even in the darkest times, hope cuts through. Hope is the light that lifts us out of darkness.
That will always define who Superman is. This will always define who Superman is. Yeah, they didn't really explain all the plot details that probably could have been that they probably should have answered, but I'm pretty sure they'll focus on that later. But it does hint that there might be that the Watchmen universe isn't exactly done with the DC universe. Like with the reveal that there will be nostalgia from Cleopatra Park, Clark, Dr. Manhattan's adopted kid, which is kind of a huge analog they did. Like you got two parents raising basically what could be considered a god with love, two normal parents raising a god basically, and a god raising a child. Like, and all this is from Superman and convincing Dr. Manhattan that there's still light in the world. Audience applause, damn it! Okay. So, we've reached the end of Doomsday Clock. Now, the biggest question for many people is, where does this all go? Like, with all the constant delays, and for many, it killed the book for them, where does the series go since, well, there's not really nowhere to go with this right now, because they have said, like, Scott Snyder said that they're trying to work it out and that everything's going to lead up to that event. And Bleeding Cool presented a very compelling article that gave hints and suggestions that everything that's been coming out since Doomsday Clock started still takes place before the events of Doomsday Clock. Like in the one-shot Year of the Villain, Lex Luthor, it mentions how Lex Luthor has a secret way to transfer his conscience into a clone body in case it ever needs to happen. So theoretically, they could tie Doomsday Clock into this neatly with Lex Luthor, but then you gotta tie in why about all the other characters. You gotta reconnect all that. So it is gonna be interesting 2020 because not only does DC this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like everything that's happened with the return of the Young Justice. In fact, there was some major gripes I had with Doomsday Clock. It was like you built up Wally West, you built up Tim Drake as people who are more connected with the old DC universe pre New 52 that they should have had a role. In fact, it was teased in by the variant cover of issue 9 that the final printing, that Tim Drake was going to have a role in it, but that never happened. But yeah, I thought for sure Tim Drake and Wally West were going to have a role because this was just as much as their story as well. Superman's story. I guess Superman had just a much of a role to play in this because he was like the chosen one because of the Convergence storyline, but really Wally West and Tim Drake really should have had a big role to play since they seem to have just as much of an impact because really when you look at it, Tim Drake had a lot of storyline going for him during the Detective Comics run by James Tyrion IV, and Wally West was, well, his life was completely ruined by Dr. Manhattan. So yeah, that was probably the big gripes I had with Doomsday Clock, but it does show that it's a massive love letter to Superman and what the foundation of Superman is. And the fact that and I know some people were saying that, man, why was no fight happening? That's not how that works. Superman, like, this is the part where people sometimes have this iffy issue regarding Superman's perfect nature, as some people like to say. Why is he not more vindictive? Why can't he just kill someone? Because Superman is not supposed to be that. If he was, he'd just be like every other character. Like, yes, I'm saying Batman as well, because regardless of what has been said, Batman has killed. Even if it's not directly, he has killed. He just finds a loophole in it and gets away with it because, well, I didn't put my hands on them, so therefore I didn't do it. But I didn't save them, so that doesn't count as murder. That just means I could have saved them, but I just chose not to. So, yeah, that way it just makes Superman just like every other character, but that's not what Superman is. Superman is supposed to be what we should strive to be, what we're meant to be, like what the best we can be in ourselves and everything, the symbol of hope and courage, like Wally West was being built up as, but then DC and Tom King were forced to screw it up because, Dan DiDio hates Wally West with a fiery passion that makes me concerned about his child temper tantrums. But yeah, that's what Superman is. He's supposed to be a paragon of hope and courage, of truth and everything. He's not supposed to be every other character. And he has his moments. He's admitted he's questioned his ways, and that's a normal human reaction, but he's supposed to rise above it because, like Brandon Roth said in As the Kingdom Comes, Superman, for the third time now. So, yeah, this was a perfect story for me. Yes, I admit it had some flaws, so maybe at best it's a flawed masterpiece for me. But, damn it, I loved every moment of it. I'm curious to know where this all goes and where all these teases go they do for the future of DC Comics. And even hinting at Marvel Comics' involvement in all this and how it will affect the DC universe, the Marvel universe. Like, that part really went Grant Morrissey for me, because I was thinking, like, wait, this comes off as Grant Morrison like at the end, because Grant Morrison, didn't Scott Snyder reveal that when Grant Morrison talked in what he believes is beyond the source wall, it's the Marvel universe? So, yeah, I was like, so, if Jim Johns is still around by then with DC Comics, or alive in general, would he write the story? Because I would hope it was him and Jonathan Hickman working together on this, because they're the perfect people to do it. Like, Jonathan Hickman's basically rebuilding the Marvel universe with just the X-Men run. So, yeah, this was a fantastic finale. I'm glad I got this cover. I hope they make a collected edition soon, next year, and I do hope in less than 5 years, hopefully, that they make an absolute edition, because, let's be honest, Watchmen doesn't have an absolute edition anymore. It's out of print, but I really do hope they make an absolute Doomsday Clock edition, because god damn it, this was just a phenomenal book and a phenomenal run regardless of the delays. Like, it will have questions regarding what was the last part all part of Jeff Johns' plan, because they looked like there were some redesigns, like some of the Legion characters look like the ones in the new Legion book and not the pre-New 52 look. But who knows? This basically looks like more like an altered timeline event, not like a full-fledged reboot. Like, it does look like the New 52's history was just completely erased. Like, aspects of it was remained, but overall, the overall dark history of it is moved to another Earth, revealed to be Earth 52. So, it's going to be pretty interesting where they go from here with this. So, those were my thoughts on DC Comics by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, and Brandon Anderson's Doomsday Clock issue 12. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Institute.
They will join you when the sun comes. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.